The perception of American travelers abroad has undergone a notable shift in recent years. While the United States passport still holds significant power in terms of visa-free access to many nations, the experience of being an American tourist in certain parts of the world is no longer universally the same as it once was. A confluence of factors, including evolving global political landscapes, shifts in public opinion towards U.S. foreign policy, and increasing emphasis on reciprocity in travel regulations, has led to a change in how Americans are received in specific countries. This doesn't necessarily equate to outright hostility in most cases, but rather a subtle yet discernible difference in treatment, ranging from stricter scrutiny to a less enthusiastic welcome compared to travelers from other nations. Here are 8 countries where American tourists are increasingly finding themselves treated differently in 2025. 1. Brazil, the end of visa-free reciprocity and increased scrutiny. For a period, Brazil had reciprocated the visa-free entry enjoyed by Brazilians visiting the US by granting the same to American tourists. However, by 2025, this reciprocal arrangement has been re-evaluated, and American citizens may face the reinstatement of visa requirements for tourism. This shift underscores a growing emphasis on fair and equal treatment in travel policies. Reinstatement of visa requirements, citing a lack of genuinely reciprocal treatment from the United States regarding visa processing times, accessibility, and the overall experience for Brazilian citizens applying for US visas, Brazil has signaled a potential return to requiring visas for American tourists. This move reflects a broader trend of countries demanding parity in their diplomatic and travel relationships. Increased border scrutiny. Even without a full visa requirement, American travelers may face more thorough questioning and document checks upon arrival in Brazil, reflecting a more cautious approach by immigration authorities. This increased scrutiny can sometimes extend to the purpose of the visit and intended length of stay. Public sentiment influenced by political tensions. Periods of political friction and differing diplomatic stances between the US and Brazil on various international issues can subtly influence public sentiment and potentially lead to a less overtly warm welcome for American visitors in some segments of Brazilian society. Focus on strengthening ties with other nations. Brazil's increasing focus on strengthening diplomatic and economic ties with other global powers, particularly within South America and with nations like China, might lead to a relative shift in the prioritization of its relationship with the US, potentially impacting the treatment of its citizens in subtle ways. 2. Spain. New hurdles for long-stay wealthy individuals. Spain, a popular destination for American retirees and those seeking extended stays, has introduced revised regulations by 2025 that place new emphasis on the financial contributions and integration efforts of long-stay foreign nationals, potentially impacting some American residents. This reflects a broader European trend towards more selective immigration policies. Stricter requirements for non-lucrative visas. Americans seeking to reside in Spain under non-lucrative visas, those who are not working, may face stricter scrutiny regarding the demonstrable and consistent nature of their financial resources and proof of genuine, long-term ties to the country beyond mere leisure or property ownership. Increased emphasis on integration. Spanish authorities may place a greater emphasis on the genuine integration of long-term foreign residents into Spanish society, potentially requiring more demonstrable efforts in this regard from American applicants, such as language acquisition and participation in local communities. Public discourse on golden visas. While not exclusively targeting Americans, ongoing public discourse within Spain regarding the perceived benefits and drawbacks of golden visa programs for wealthy foreigners could indirectly influence the public perception and treatment of affluent American residents, particularly if these programs face increased scrutiny. Focus on sustainable tourism. Spain's growing emphasis on sustainable tourism practices and managing the impact of large numbers of visitors might lead to a greater focus on the quality and long-term contribution of different tourist demographics, potentially leading to subtle differences in how long-stay visitors are perceived compared to short-term leisure travelers. 3. South Korea, heightened digital screening and potential for pre-boarding denials. South Korea, a key US ally with strong security ties, has implemented more stringent digital pre-travel authorization systems by 2025, and American travelers might find themselves subject to more rigorous pre-screening processes before even boarding their flights. Enhanced KETA, Korea Electronic Travel Authorization. Scrutiny. The KETA system, which many Americans are required to use for visa-free entry, may involve more detailed and probing information requests, utilizing sophisticated algorithms to assess risk, potentially leading to a higher rate of initial denials if applications are incomplete, inconsistent, or trigger any security-related flags. Increased information sharing and security protocols. Closer security cooperation and intelligence sharing between the US and South Korea, particularly in the context of regional geopolitical tensions, might lead to more extensive and integrated checks on American travelers prior to and upon arrival. Public sensitivity to geopolitical tensions. Heightened geopolitical tensions in Northeast Asia involving North Korea and regional power dynamics can sometimes lead to increased security awareness and a more cautious approach towards foreign nationals, including Americans, at ports of entry and during pre-travel screening. Focus on reciprocity in digital travel authorizations. South Korea, like other nations, may be paying closer attention to the requirements and level of scrutiny its own citizens face when traveling to the United States, potentially influencing the stringency and complexity of its own digital authorization processes for American visitors to ensure a degree of parity. 4. Japan. Subtle shifts in welcome amidst evolving regional dynamics. Japan, a longtime favorite for American tourists and a crucial US ally in the Asia-Pacific, might exhibit subtle shifts in its traditionally warm and exceptionally courteous welcome by 2025, influenced by evolving regional dynamics, a greater emphasis on national interest, and a more nuanced understanding of the US's global role. Increased awareness of geopolitical competition. Japan's heightened awareness of the complex geopolitical competition in East Asia, particularly involving China and North Korea, might lead to a more measured and less automatically effusive approach towards visitors from major global powers, including the United States, as Tokyo navigates its own strategic interests in the region. Subtle shifts in cultural perceptions. While generally positive and respectful, subtle shifts in cultural perceptions of the United States, potentially influenced by global events and media portrayals, could lead to a less uniformly enthusiastic reception in some segments of Japanese society, particularly among younger generations with different historical perspectives. Emphasis on reciprocal treatment in visa policies. Japan, known for its meticulous approach to international relations, may be paying closer attention to the visa policies and overall entry experience its citizens encounter when traveling to the United States, potentially influencing its own long-term approach to American visitors to ensure a sense of fairness and reciprocity. 5. Indonesia. Increased deportations and stricter enforcement of visa regulations. Indonesia, a sprawling archipelago popular with American tourists, particularly those drawn to the cultural and natural beauty of Bali, has reportedly seen a noticeable increase in deportations and a more rigorous enforcement of its visa regulations by 2025, affecting some American travelers who may be perceived as overstaying their permitted time or engaging in activities that fall outside the scope of their tourist visas. Zero-tolerance policy for visa overstays and unauthorized activities. Indonesian authorities are reportedly adopting a stricter zero-tolerance policy towards visa overstays and instances where foreign tourists, including Americans, are suspected of engaging in work, business, or other activities without the appropriate permits, leading to more frequent detentions and deportations. Increased monitoring of social media and online activity. There are increasing reports of Indonesian immigration authorities actively monitoring tourist social media platforms and online activity to identify potential violations of visa regulations, such as promoting businesses or offering services while on a tourist visa. Focus on protecting local employment opportunities. A heightened emphasis on protecting local employment opportunities and ensuring fair competition might lead to stricter enforcement against foreigners, including Americans, who are perceived as working without proper authorization in sectors where Indonesian
6.
citizens
Turkey,
could fill those roles.
navigating diplomatic tensions and increased scrutiny. Based on online activity. Turkey, a strategically important nation with a complex and often fluctuating relationship with the United States, may subject American travelers to increasingly thorough scrutiny by 2025, particularly concerning their online presence, social media activity, and perceived political views, reflecting broader national security concerns and sensitivities. Potential for scrutiny and questioning based on social media activity. There have been increasing reports of travelers, including Americans, facing detailed questioning, delays, or even denial of entry into Turkey based on their social media posts, online affiliations, or perceived political views, particularly those critical of the Turkish government or supportive of groups deemed as threats by Ankara. This trend is likely to continue or intensify by 2025. Impact of bilateral political tensions on traveler experiences. Periods of heightened diplomatic tension or public disagreements between the governments of the US and Turkey can sometimes translate into a less welcoming atmosphere or increased levels of scrutiny for American citizens at Turkish airports and other ports of entry. Focus on national security concerns in a volatile region. Turkey's ongoing and significant national security concerns in a highly volatile geopolitical region bordering Syria, Iraq, and other areas of instability could lead to more thorough and cautious checks on travelers from countries with substantial geopolitical influence, such as the United States. 7. Argentina. Shifting visa policies and economic considerations. Argentina, a popular destination in South America known for its vibrant culture and stunning landscapes, has experienced fluctuations in its visa policies for American citizens. By 2025, persistent economic considerations and the principle of reciprocity in travel regulations could lead to further changes in how American tourists are treated upon arrival. Potential reinstatement of visa fees or more stringent requirements. Depending on Argentina's ongoing economic situation and the visa policies and fees that Argentine citizens face when traveling to the United States, there could be a reinstatement of visa fees or the imposition of more stringent entry requirements for American tourists as a measure of reciprocity or revenue generation. Economic pressures influencing tourism policies and enforcement. Persistent economic pressures within Argentina could lead to the implementation of policies aimed at maximizing revenue from international tourism, potentially resulting in increased fees for American visitors or stricter enforcement of customs and immigration regulations. Public and political discourse on reciprocity in travel. Public and political discourse within Argentina regarding the perceived ease of travel for Americans to Argentina compared to the often more complex and expensive process for Argentinians seeking US visas could exert pressure on the government to implement more reciprocal travel policies. Focus on attracting tourists from diverse and emerging markets. Argentina may be actively seeking to diversify its international tourism base by focusing on attracting visitors from a wider range of countries, potentially leading to a relative shift in focus and resources away from traditional markets like the United States. 8. Certain nations with strong anti-American sentiment. In a limited number of specific countries where strong anti-American sentiment persists due to historical grievances, ongoing political conflicts, or deeply ingrained ideological differences, American travelers might encounter subtle but noticeable forms of unwelcoming treatment from certain segments of the local population in 2025. Subtle forms of discrimination or unfriendliness in interactions. While official government policies will likely still aim to facilitate tourism, individual interactions in certain establishments, public spaces, or with specific individuals could be characterized by subtle forms of discrimination, a lack of warmth, or a less helpful demeanor compared to interactions with tourists of other nationalities. Heightened awareness and commentary on nationality. American travelers might find that their nationality draws more attention or elicits more direct and sometimes critical comments or questions about US foreign policy or global actions than would be the case for tourists from other countries. Influence of local media portrayals and political rhetoric. Consistently negative portrayals of the United States in local media outlets or strong anti-American rhetoric from political figures can contribute to a less favorable public perception of American visitors. Conclusion. While the vast majority of American travelers will likely continue to experience positive and welcoming interactions abroad in 2025, the subtle shifts in treatment described in these 8 countries highlight a changing global landscape where the automatic assumption of a universally warm welcome for Americans is no longer a given. Evolving visa policies based on reciprocity, heightened security concerns, the impact of bilateral political tensions, and shifts in public sentiment all contribute to this nuanced reality. American citizens planning international travel in 2025 should remain informed about current travel advisories, diligently respect local customs and laws, and cultivate a heightened sense of cultural sensitivity and awareness to navigate the complexities of international travel in this evolving global environment. Understanding these dynamics will contribute to more positive and enriching travel experiences.